If we're being honest, there's a very simple reason why most ADC players think that their role sucks for carrying games. Marksmen typically have one duty in their games: to deal damage. Unfortunately, most low elo ADCs fail at the most important concept when it comes to dealing damage, which is farming properly. It's simple: if you don't farm, then you don't have items, which means you deal 0 damage, making your role useless. On the other hand, if you do have solid farm, then you'll always have good items, resulting in big damage, allowing you to carry fights if you play well.
But before we get into it, here's your team with another game-winning lead in solo queue. Uh-oh, it looks like nobody was subscribed to skillcap.com. It's there you'll find the largest selection of League of Legends guides on the entire internet, with over 270 unique courses and over 1,800 videos. That might sound a bit daunting, right? Well, with our browse page, it's as simple as clicking your role and then the skill you want to improve at. Wave control, trading, laning, macro, you name it, we got it, and all of this for every single role in the game. No one else can compare. But it doesn't stop there, as you also get 5 site-exclusive guides every single week that you can only find on our website. Still not convinced? Well, you also get 10 brand new Smurf commentaries every single week, where a challenger expert walks you through how to escape the exact rank you're stuck in for every single role. You can even ask those same challenger experts any questions you have and be guaranteed to have them answered. Need something more personal? We got you covered with one-on-one coaching from the best players that we hand train to the highest standard. The best part of all of this, it's risk-free with our rank improvement guarantee. It's no wonder Skillcapped is the place to improve at League of Legends. So what are you waiting for? Get the rank you've always wanted and head to skillcapped.com, link in the description below. Now, back to the video.
Now, if we're being honest, the 10 CS per minute benchmark is a bit much. It's really difficult to always hit that metric, but that being said, you should be averaging around 8 CS per minute in the long run. If we take a look at even Diamond ADC players, most of their CS averages leave a lot to be desired, and it gets worse and worse the further you go down in the elo ladder. Meanwhile, if we take a look at a great player like T1's Gumayushi, you'll see that he averages over 9 CS per minute on most champions. And to be clear, he's doing it versus some of the best players in the world, and in a region that is known for its constant fighting and aggressive playmaking, which leaves him very little time to freely farm. Not only that, but he's able to do it almost regardless of the game's circumstances. Fed enemy assassin? No problem. He'll still have better CS than you do during your best games. Now, we're not saying that you're supposed to be this good. We're merely going to talk about some overly common mistakes that might be preventing you from farming nearly as much as you should be, especially when you're versus far less competent players than a pro ADC is. So let's break these mistakes down. We'll be starting from gold and moving all the way to diamond to show you how detrimental these mistakes are to your ability to farm. Here's a low elo Jinx in an even game, where she's about to make the mistake that is the biggest culprit for why so many ADCs falter in their CS scores. As she's grouped with her Vi and Karma in mid, let's pause and ask a very simple question. Like we said, the game is dead even. Everyone on the enemy team is alive, her own Ahri is in base, and Graves is holding Kayle back in top. Based on that, do you continue pushing mid lane here and look to siege the tower? When we put it like that, it's insanely obvious that pushing mid here is wrong, right? It's unlikely that Jinx and friends can get anything done versus the enemy team that will easily defend the tower, and yet they do decide to push, and it takes them around 15 seconds to realize that what they just did is a complete waste of time. They retreat shamefully, accomplishing nothing and having put themselves at risk for no reason. At this moment, Jinx should have went to either the Raptors or Wolves that were available. That's a much better use of those 15 seconds that she ended up wasting instead. This may seem like a very inconsequential mistake, but it brings us to the really important takeaway we want you to get from this example. It's not that this single mistake is what's holding back Jinx from having good farm in this game. It'll never be just 1 or 2 mistakes that make your CSing bad. The reason that low elo ADCs fall behind so much is that they're constantly wasting 10 or 15 seconds multiple times within a game, whenever they're presented with a situation just like this. They see that their team is grouping, they follow them for a bit, only to quickly realize it was a waste of time. The key skill you need to work on is that whenever you find yourself in a situation like this, it shouldn't take us pausing the game and breaking down the map to get you to realize that pushing mid here would be bad. You need to practice at making snap decisions that will help you avoid wasting time, and instead use that to get more farm for yourself in the long run. Moving on to cover another all too common mistake we see, let's switch over to a different replay featuring a Platinum Elo Lucian. Jumping into things, as he finishes his recall and is walking back onto the map, Lucian can take a moment to see the events transpiring on the map. First, his mid, jungler, and support are all about to die over this mid lane fight that started for no reason. Watching your teammates throw the lead your team has for no reason is obviously not what you want to see as you're in the base, but somehow what Lucian is going to do in just a moment is even worse. Just as his Nami is dying to the rest of the enemy team, Lucian does manage to pick off the isolated Annie who overstayed her welcome. At the same time, he can also see just how much pressure his own Yone is putting up in top lane with the Rift Herald aiding him. And we arrive at our question moment. We're not hiding the fact that this is a guide to help you farm, so obviously Lucian should be making some sort of choice here to get some more CS. The question for you is, what do you think he should do? Based on what you know, which sources of farm do you think he should look to get after clearing this mid wave? If your initial thought was to push another wave in mid, then well done. Lucian could very easily push another wave, and then look to potentially steal camps in either the enemy's blue or red side jungle. Instead, he immediately backs off after the Annie kill, and just bases. This is most likely a result of two big issues low elo ADCs have, which really slows down their farming. One, keeping track of where everyone is on the map or where they're likely to go, and two, being afraid at low health. Starting with tracking everyone, Lucian had plenty of time as he was running out of base to take stock of where every enemy champion was on the map. First, he knows that Yone killed the enemy Akali up in top. Then he killed Annie himself as she was isolated. And although his team died for no reason, it did give him the information that the remaining 3 enemy champions were all in the river. Not only does he know where they are, but it's very easy to assume that they're all going to base in the river to defend top lane from the pushing Yone. Therefore, it should be a no-brainer that Lucian can keep pushing to put pressure on the mid tower and steal some jungle camps in the process. And even if they don't recall, this is where our second point comes in. Lucian most likely ended up recalling because he was dangerously low on health. It's fair to say that as an ADC, being low health is even scarier than usual, considering how frail your class is in general already. That being said, the better you are at keeping stock of where all your opponents are, the less and less your health is going to matter when it comes to your decision making. You can literally be at 1% HP farming the map if you're aware of where every enemy champion is located. Lucian definitely had access to that information this game, and even if he was afraid that they weren't going to recall to defend their base, it wouldn't have mattered. Take a look at all the vision he has in the river. He knows that they're there, which means that if he sees them coming, he could just drift lazily to the left and avoid them entirely, even if they did give up their inhibitor to try and kill him. At the end of the day though, as we saw, Lucian just ended up basing. And to be clear, he didn't base for a particularly important item. It was just for a crit cloak, which is never worth leaving the map to buy. Moving on to our final piece of advice that so many ADCs fail at, which is that they collapse to too many dumb fights instead of just bailing and continuing to farm and or pressure towers. Let's look at a Diamond Elo replay to show you what we mean. In this game, Caitlyn and her team are fairly even with their opponents. As she's clearing another wave in mid, her team begins rotating into Dragon, which would be spawning in around a minute. Take a quick look at the map. Is this a good fight to go towards? Of course not. That should have taken you less than a second to realize, since her Anivia is top lane. Going to this fight is basically agreeing to a fight at a 4v5 disadvantage. Just like following your teammates around was bad in our first example, you need to be able to immediately tell when they're forcing a bad fight too, even if it's over an important objective like Dragon or Baron. Caitlyn at this moment should realize that this is not worth getting into, and she should either be pressuring the enemy Raptors or setting up to take Rift Herald on her own instead. It doesn't matter whether Anivia should be here or not, or whether her team can technically stall for her to get there, or even if they could win the 4v5, etc. Just realize when something isn't worth fighting over and leave immediately. Otherwise, not only are you missing farm, but you're also more likely going to end up dying for no reason. Caitlyn's death here was so easily avoidable, but even Diamond players consistently fail at realizing when a fight isn't worth going to. We get that it's frustrating to leave your teammates, especially when you know that they're gonna die, but the counter argument to do that is actually what Caitlyn's Rengar and Anivia ended up doing. While Caitlyn and the rest of the team were dying, Rengar and Anivia realized that the fight was bad and they just pushed. Yes, it sucks that their teammates died, but it's better than being there with them and dying too. This is what you should be striving to do in your games. You need to be able to assess when something is a waste of time, and to just push and farm more minions and jungle camps instead. You really need to learn when to just let your teammates die and to be efficient with your time instead. To wrap things up, here's the important takeaway you need from this guide. One single misplay isn't the reason your farm numbers are lower than a good ADC's averages. It's multiple small mistakes per game that are causing you to miss out on so many farm opportunities that let you hit those big CS numbers, which will actually allow you to carry. The biggest skill you need to learn isn't the best play in every single macro situation. You just need to be able to make snap decisions in 1 or 2 seconds to stop wasting time and accelerate your farm instead of wasting time doing nothing. It's better to make a mediocre decision to farm than to do nothing at all. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about Skill Capped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent challenger players into ELO Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. Anyway, that's a wrap on this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.